All right, guys, welcome back to another video here on the channel. I was looking in the comments of one of my last videos on the healer tier list that I made, and Ufrag Legacy actually asked for an epic tier list next. For people who are just starting out, they don't have a lot of legendary champions. So I absolutely will do that, and that's what we are going to do today. There were some comments about one champion in particular on my previous video. It was Nasande. I can't find her right now, but when we get to her, I'll talk about her a little bit more. I do just want to mention that off the top. I have been thinking about her a little bit. Okay, so in on that note, I am going to kind of rename my tiers. So amazing is, like build them immediately, use them. Even if you have a team full of legendaries, you're probably going to want to still use some of these epics. Okay. For example, pretty much all of the legendary or the epic lords would go in amazing. I don't know if I'll actually put them onto the tier list just because, well, we'll talk about that as we go. The next tier is going to be very good. People that, if you have better options in Legendary, you might want to use them, but if you don't, they can still substitute their role. Okay are guys that you might only want to build if you have no other options. And then this last category, well, this category is the last one, I guess, but this one is niche or bad. So I'll talk about them as they get put into here. If they have a very niche use, I'll keep them in that category. If they're just plain bad, I'll kind of keep them in that category as well. The thing to keep in mind is, like, just because it's in the lowest category doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad. It just means they don't have as many uses, in my opinion, or that someone does their job better. Okay, so it's all about filling roles in a game like this. And so, like, there are some people that don't fill the role as well as somebody else. And so they'll go lower in the tier list. And then the star tier is headlined by Dolores, of course, where she's terrible at healing, so she's a bad healer, but she's fantastic at boosting attack, and then so she's invaluable for guild boss and things like that. But keep in mind, she's not a good healer. She's not good for people who are just starting the game. She's really somebody you'd throw into your team of legendaries to really pump up your damage on guild boss. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind. Okay, Osiren. I've used him a little bit. I don't think he's very good. I think he's like Zealous, but he's just much, much worse. I think there are a ton of better mages to use. I don't like him. I don't think Osiris is very good at all. And I'll just be pulling from whoever I see down here and whoever I feel like talking about. Now, Baron is amazing. Okay, Baron is probably the second best epic tank in the game, and the absolute best epic tank is by far, in my opinion, Olag. Both of these have just ways of sustaining themselves, which the other defenders, the other tanks in the game don't have, including some of the legendary ones. Now, like, say, I might like Olag or Baron more than Captain Reeve, who is the defender who's out right now. So just to keep that in mind, they will not die, especially if they have a healer on them. They're really helpful for Gear Raid 2. I think they're top tier epics. Definitely go with them. In that defender kind of vein, I guess I could say, there's Aveline. I don't think she's very good. She can do something like increase her defense. She can also block 4 by default instead of blocking 3 like most defenders. So that's like kind of a niche use. But I don't know. I just don't think she does enough as to really be moved up too far. I think there's definitely other options with her. Now, Silene I'm going to put here because she generates cost. She's my preferred option to generate cost, although you could also use Dallin. Both of them generate cost. I don't use them for anything else, but they do generate cost for you. I think Silene does like 15 every 30 seconds. I'm not sure what Dallin's does, but they're both good. Speaking of the stars, I'll put Laurel in because she can really help with rage regen. So same thing, not great as a mage, but she really fills that role for rage regen. Okay, Lily, I don't really like her as a healer. I had her near the bottom of my healer tier list. She's going to go near the bottom of this tier list. She does have that niche use where she can save someone from fatal damage, but I just don't think it's enough, personally. Okay, let's see who else do we have on the epics. I really like where'd he go? Maul. So I just got Maul. I think Maul is top tier. He does ridiculous damage. He really helped me progress in Gear Raid 3. I think Maul is a fantastic champion. If you get him, build him. He has uses all the way up to endgame, in my opinion. I mean, you can use him in endgame Gear Raid 3 as to just lock down a lane. His ultimate just does so much. He has freezes. He has slows. He just offers so much. I think Maul's really good. Um, on the topics of freezes and slows, I'll put Mari in. Now, Mari's really good at crowd control. She's not very good at damage. So she is very good, but she will not bring the sort of damage that Maul brings. She is good at crowd control, though. She slows enemies when she hits them. Her ultimate is like this big ice storm that actually can do a good amount of damage on her ultimate. So I will say that. But it also freezes enemies in place, so it's really good. I haven't actually used, but from everything I've heard, she's like Mary, but not as good. So I'll put her right below her in the okay. But you get Mary for free, so I really don't think there's any reason to build I, in my opinion. Okay, Ardeth, a defender. I think on my overall tier list, I said I wouldn't be very excited to pull him. I have pulled him. I've never used him. I don't think there's a need to when you have just so many better tanks in the game. I mean, you even have fighters that can work better as tanks, so I don't think Ardeth is very good. I'm going to put him down in the niche or the bad tier. Really, I should just rename this and say this is just my lowest tier, right? It doesn't mean like bad. You might use them and find a great use for them. I just haven't. Okay, so that's all I mean by putting him in the lowest tier. I'm going to put Harpoon in that tier as well. He'd be good to come out only because you use him for the fusion, but other than that, I don't think he has a great use. Komodo I'm going to put there too. He is one of only 2 champions in the game that I think that applies bleed, with Salazar being the other, Komodo being one of those 2. Now bleed can be very good. I just don't think Komodo brings enough other things to be good enough. Like, for example, Salazar, who's the legendary champion, brings tremendous damage, which Komodo doesn't do. So okay, defenders. I'm gonna put Livy in here. She's okay. If you haven't pulled any of the better defenders, you can definitely go with her. I actually prefer Mariel over her because Mariel offers a lot of healing. Livian can do some crowd control and some stuns, which is good. And so she'd kind of be borderline between very good and okay for me. I just put Mariel above her, and then Olag and Baron are just clearly above them. So giving you a sneak preview of my defender tier list. Talking about them there. Titus I would put in the niche / bad. The reason is, now he can heal himself, but he can't be healed by anybody else. So I just think that's such a problem with his kit that I really can't justify putting him any higher than that. If anyone has used him, please let me know, because I think it'd be cool, but I just think that's such a barrier to use. So anyway, Damon I'm going to put with Harpoon, Komodo, and Damon. They are all part of the fusion. I think they're all kind of underwhelming champions that you really wouldn't use for anything but fusing them together. Okay, let's go with Vortex. You guys already know I think Vortex is if you saw my healing video, a top tier healer. As far as epics go, I think he is probably the best, in my opinion, other than, say, Dolores, but again, not a healer. Lightlock is very good, too. I'm afraid they're going to nerf him into the ground, though, so I am going to put him in A tier for now. And then if we are talking still about epic healers, Medan is really good, too. It really comes down to, do you want the giant range, or do you want the tri-healing when you're looking at Vortex versus Medan? I just think the giant range is super helpful. Now, someone pointed out to me that Hollow, when you upgrade her, actually gets that same range as Vortex. So that's good. I didn't know that. So she's gonna bump up into this very good tier as well. I didn't realize that. So thank you, whoever pointed that out. I don't remember off the top of my head. So that definitely bumps her up. Nassault, I think, is a healer too, isn't he? Did I not have him in my healer tier list? I'm not remembering that right now. I don't think he's very good. I don't think he offers very much. He takes forever to make these little bombs. I think they're like healing bombs, but he takes forever to make them and then throws them out. And like he can throw them like, and it's cool, but it just takes way too long to make them. So Brunor's okay. There are better marksman options in my opinion. His big advantage is he has a gigantic range, like Setram. I don't know if you guys have seen Setram's range, but Bruno has that same range. It's very good. But I just think his attack speed is too slow, so not super great. Theowen is okay. He's definitely my... Actually, you know what? That's not true. Tazira is my least favorite of like those 4 marksmen you can get. Theowen's slightly better than her. Tazira can do like really good damage on her ultimate. Like she starts shooting super fast, but I think overall she just doesn't do enough. Theowen, on the other hand, doesn't do as much damage, but he does bring slows and things like that, which can be useful. But I think Mary does that better, in my opinion. And then Brienne is another one of those marksmen you can get. I do like her. She can go up into this category here. I think her ultimate is better than Tazira's. She does like this multi-shot where she can actually shoot multiple people at once and does a ton of damage. She shoots super fast. And I'm actually realizing right now I'm missing Tariel. I'm missing Tariel on this tier list, so I apologize for that. But she would actually go right in front of Brienne. Her ultimate, she can shoot anywhere on the map, which I think is very, very useful. I've been using her a lot on my alt account, and I like Tariel, so she would go in the very good category as well as far as epic marksmen are concerned. Aona, in my opinion, is the best... Oh, I'm missing Navros, too. Ah, darn. Sorry about that, guys. In my opinion, Aona is the best mage from the epic tier. So I think she belongs in the amazing tier. I think she's very, very good, especially if you can awaken her. She does AoE damage. She does even more AoE damage on her ultimate. I think she's a fantastic champion. I like her a lot. Selkath I don't think is very good. I haven't used him a lot though, so if somebody has something to say about him, I'd be happy to move him up. I really don't know a ton about him, so I apologize for that. Voroth is a fighter who is very good. Actually, I'm going to put him towards the top of the very good tier. I think he's got a little bit of tankiness to him, which is nice, and he can dish out some decent damage, especially if you have like a lord from the North faction, like Isolde. She was down here somewhere. I'm not going to put her on the list, but if you had Isolde, he boosts Voroth's stats and then makes him better. I mean, same goes for every lord, but. Just throwing that out there. So Estrid I'm going to put in this niche use. She's really, really good at bringing defense down, and I think if she's awakened, she can apply it permanently. Don't quote me on that, but there's some conditional aspects where she can apply it permanently. Maybe if she does her ultimate twice or something like that. Which can be very useful for Guild Boss. Guild Boss has a high defense. If you can bring that defense down permanently for the entirety, almost of that very long fight, that can be very valuable. So she's got that niche use there. Aeon and Wrath are both lords, so let's go with Soleil. She's okay. She's not very impressive. I've moved on from her very quickly. I do think she's probably better than I don't think I is very good. I'm going to move her down a little bit. Yeah, so she's like solidly in the middle of the okay sort of tier. I'm going to put Gluttony there as well. If anyone's used Abomination, Gluttony is like baby Abomination. I just don't think he's great. Let's see. Deimos is amazing. S tier, just really, really good. If he works on one single target, he can just rip them up. So he's really, really good for, say, Guild Boss. He's really good for... Artifact raid where you're just trying to take out that Salazar, that sort of thing. Now Greed I think is very good, but I honestly don't know because I don't have him yet. Apparently he's very, very difficult to pull. Olag, Deimos, and Greed I think are probably the 3 most difficult epics to pull. I don't know why, but it's been very difficult, other than Lords, of course. Very difficult to pull them. I think he's very good. I think people want him. I don't know too much about him. If anybody agrees, disagrees, I can be well convinced to move him up or down, so let me know. Jonquar, I'm going to put in okay, almost to the very good. I've heard a lot of good things about him. One thing he can do is he applies Curse, which basically makes it so enemies can't attack him, which is very cool. He also deals magic damage, so I could definitely be convinced to put him up into the very good tier as a fighter. Imani, I think she can kind of smack, but I don't know a ton about her, so I'm going to put her in the okay tier. That's one I could definitely see myself moving up. I've kind of saved the ones I don't know as much about for the end. Same thing with Nazim. I don't think Nazim's very good. I've never heard of him being used, so I'm going to put him there. Again, if you know more about him than I do, feel free to move him up. Now, Scorch I really like a lot, actually, because he does magic damage as a fighter, but it is ranged. So I'll put him in the okay. He could definitely move up, though. I just don't want like this tier to get too diluted because you want the best champions up at the top. Okay, now all we have left down here are Lords: Aeon, Wrath, Isolde, Ein, Lunaria, Pyros, and Raiden. Can I move them? Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave all the Lords down there except for Nasande. Now Nasande, I had her in the really bad tier or the avoid, but she does bring increased attack speed, and people have been saying it's very good. So I'm gonna move her up into the okay tier. Definitely, I wouldn't say avoid her anymore. A few people have written in the comments saying that they actually enjoy her quite a bit and have a lot of success with her, so that's great. Okay, now we have the Lords at the bottom. I'm just going to talk about them really quickly about which ones I think are most valuable. Excuse me, Ein I think is useless. The Watchguard is not a very good faction, and I don't think he brings a lot individually, so I put him very low. Wrath, I think, is number one. Wrath brings so much utility. You can get him A5 basically for free. They give you Wrath Soulstones, so I think he's fantastic. So he's definitely number one in terms of epic lords if you get them. Pyros, I would say, is number two. Brings a little bit of good stuff in his kit, but also powers up really, really good champions in the Infernal faction. Isolde I'm going to put next because I think she brings just so much in her kit that she's like really a top tier, like rivals Olag and Baron in terms of survivability and shielding and blocking and that sort of thing. Like on her ultimate, she can actually not only block an extra person, but make it so everybody else can block an extra person, everyone who's near her. So that's very cool. Lunaria is here. I don't know a ton about Lunaria and Aeon, so these could get flip-flopped in either order, and honestly, maybe even push past Isolde. Raiden, I don't think the Esotericist faction is the strongest, so I'd put him down a little more, and maybe thinking about that, I'd put Aeon ahead of Lunaria because I think the mages are generally more useful than the piercers. So I would go with that. In terms of Legendary Lord, although if you pull any of these Lords, it's fantastic because they give you a huge boost. I've pulled so many Ains, it's ridiculous, and I pulled one Wrath. I actually got 2 Isoldes from the fusion, which was cool. But all right, so again, in the comment section down below, let me know if you agree, disagree with anything. I feel pretty good about this. There are some champions I don't know a ton about, again, so like Nazim and Selkath and Gluttony and Greed and things like that. There are definitely some guys that I wouldn't, definitely would not mind moving up or down, but I feel very good about my amazing tier. Like if I got any of those, I think these are probably the best epics you can get. I'm looking at the rest of the list and I'm like, okay, they would be fine. They would be fine. This is like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm really glad I got that. And actually, let me put them in order of the way that I would be most happy to get them. Something like this. Is kind of how I would order that top row. The others are maybe not really in order, but Deimos, Maul, Oleg, Aeona, Baron, Vortex, all top tier. If you get them, build them, absolutely. Again, if you guys agree, disagree, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye.